the spiritual impact, the emotional impact, the effect upon the whole being. There's a Rudyard Kipling poem called If. How many of you are familiar with that poem? At the closing of the poem, it says, if you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, yours is the world and everything that's in it. And I would make the point that if you want to be masterful at taking people through these exit strategy or liquidation experiences, you need to be the most adult person in the room, be the person who can maintain that equilibrium and maintain your head when everybody around you is losing theirs. I love the speaker's story earlier about the wrestler who picked the guy up and threw him out of the building. Man, I wish I would have seen that. But somebody's got to be an adult in this. Somebody needs to be the voice of reason. And the good news is that just, you get to pick whether that's you or not. And most of the time, you'll be the only adult in the room at times. And you'll probably flash back on this conversation and you'll go, oh yeah, that's what's happening. How many of you already experienced that, being the only adult in the room when you're dealing with clients? So you know that's true, right? So what if you did it on purpose, with intention, rather than just happenstance being there and it just happening around you? So that's how I look at the whole being, is the ability to do that, to be evolved enough to where you can maintain the focus and the commitment and the courage and all these other points that we were talking about earlier. Once upon a time, a Indian prince, a Raja, decided to conduct an experiment on human nature, and so he gathered together all the wisest gurus from the far reaches of the land, and he took them through a series of challenges to determine who is the wisest guru. I think if you did that contest now, Wayne Dyer and Anthony Robbins and a whole bunch of these guys would all show up, because if you could be the wisest guru in all the land, I'm sure there'd be big bucks in it. There'd be like a book contract and a TV show and maybe a reality show or something. So even in ancient times, if you were considered the wisest guru, that would be a position to aspire to. So they attracted all of the who's who of the gurus in the land, and as it turned out, as the contest winnowed down to the final stages, the 6 finalists were all blind from birth. And this posed a bit of a challenge, because the Raja had not thought about this. He had never imagined this happening, and he had to come up with some type of a test to see, who the finalists and who the champion was going to be. So he decided on this. He introduced each of them to a creature they'd never experienced before. And he said, I want you to experience the creature and then to define the true essence of the creature. And they all looked forward to this contest. And one by one, they were led out of the room and allowed to experience the creature. And then they were brought back into the room so they could discuss their findings. And the Raja was basically mediating this conversation. And the first guru said, well, this creature is very much like a wall. And the next Raja says, a wall? I don't know what you're talking about. This creature is like a tree. And the next one said, a wall, a tree, you're nuts. This animal is like a rope. And the next one said, no, this animal is like a large and powerful snake. And the next one said, you're all wrong, the animal is like a fan. And the next one said, you're all wrong, the animal is like a spear. And this bitter argument broke out, because all of the gurus were absolutely certain of what they'd experienced. And they all knew what they knew, and they were damn sure going to stick to their guns, right? Can you imagine this conversation taking place? Bitter argument. They all knew what they knew. Have you ever been in a meeting like that where all the different advisors, they all knew what they knew? I've been representing this client for 17 years, damn it, and I know what the client wants. Next says, well, I've been representing, 35 years for me. I mean, I represented his father before his father passed away, and I've been representing, I've known him since he was 3 years old, You've all been in those kinds of conversations, and they all know what they know, and they're all certain about it. Finally, the prince, he steps in, he says, you're all correct. The animal is like a wall and a tree and a spear and a rope and a fan and a snake. But when you put the creature, all these parts together, you realize that an elephant is greater than the sum of its parts.